Hey man, let me hit you with a truth that most guys don't want to face. She'll leave you. Not because you weren't there, not because you didn't love her, not because you didn't provide, protect, or pour your whole damn soul into the relationship. She'll leave you for one reason, and it won't make sense until it's too late. She'll leave you if he has one trait, one damn trait. Charisma? No. Money? Not always. Status? Close. But no, it's certainty. That deep, immovable confidence that radiates from a man who doesn't just say he knows what he wants, he moves like it. She'll leave the man who bends over backward for her and run straight to the one who barely acknowledges her if he walks with that kind of self-assured power. Because to the female psyche, certainty is irresistible. It's intoxicating. It's the signal that he doesn't need her approval, her affection, her validation, because his internal world is already complete. Here's the sick irony most men face. You do everything right. You show up. You stay loyal. You communicate. You take her on dates. Remember the little things. Protect her when she's vulnerable. You give her the kind of emotional security that should matter. And still, it doesn't guarantee a damn thing. Because in her world, logic doesn't drive desire. Emotion does. And when a man who radiates certainty walks into the picture, she feels it. She feels it in her chest, in her stomach, in that place where reason dies and raw attraction begins. And if you're the man who's still asking, do you love me? Are we okay? Am I enough? You've already lost. Not because you weren't enough as a man, but because you doubted it. And the moment you doubt it, she doubts it too. Certainty isn't about being loud or arrogant. It's not about flexing or dominating conversations. It's the quiet, grounded energy of a man who knows who he is, where he's going, and what he's not willing to tolerate. He doesn't ask permission to lead. He doesn't negotiate his self-respect. He doesn't over-explain, over-apologize, or over-pursue. He moves like his time is valuable, like his presence is a gift. And even if she doesn't consciously register it, her body does, her instincts do. Because deep down, every woman is wired to follow the man who leads with certainty, not the man who checks in every 5 minutes to make sure she's still happy. That may win approval, but it doesn't spark obsession. If he has certainty, he doesn't chase her, he magnetizes her. That one trait flips the entire power dynamic. Suddenly, she's second-guessing herself. She's checking her reflection twice before seeing him. She's nervous around him, not because he's mean, but because his energy doesn't center around her. He's not bending to her emotional weather. He's not walking on eggshells to keep her around. And that contrast hits hard. Because while you're sending good morning texts and asking if she's okay, he's living his life and she's trying to figure out how to fit into it. That subtle shift, that's the difference between being the man she settles for and the one she fantasizes about. Don't get it twisted. Women aren't cruel for being drawn to certainty. It's biology. Safety, security, and leadership all radiate from a man who's sure of himself. You might think being nice, supportive, and emotionally open makes you a better partner. And yes, those things matter, but only after she's attracted. Only after you've sparked a fire. If you lead with compliance instead of certainty, she doesn't feel turned on. She feels like she's mothering a boy. And no woman stays turned on by the man she has to lead emotionally. She wants to lean into your strength, not shape it. She wants to feel your vision, not guide it. And when she meets a man who gives her that, she'll chase him, even if she cries while leaving you. You can't fake certainty. You can't mimic it by memorizing lines or pretending to be stoic. Because women feel through masks. They sense when your confidence is real and when it's performative. If you're trying too hard to be alpha, she'll smell the desperation underneath. But if you've built yourself into a man with standards, boundaries, purpose, and unshakable self-respect, she won't just notice, she'll submit to it. Not because she's weak, but because it allows her to rest in her feminine energy. And if she's been leading every man in her life, your presence becomes addictive, not because you're doing anything to her, but because you're being something without needing her. The man with certainty doesn't ask, will she leave me? He knows that if she does, it's her loss. He doesn't cling, he doesn't beg. He doesn't fall into emotional chaos because someone walked out. His world doesn't collapse from rejection because it was never built around someone else's validation to begin with. That energy is terrifying to insecure women and magnetic to feminine women because she knows, if he chooses me, it's because he wants me, not because he needs me. And in a world full of emotionally needy men, that alone puts him in a category she can't ignore. Think about the guy she left you for. Was he better than you? More generous? More loyal? Probably not. But he had presence. He had the nerve to walk in like he owned the room. He didn't wait for her to choose him. He acted like he was the one doing the choosing. And that subtle psychological frame made all the difference. Women don't fall for the most available man. They fall for the most emotionally grounded one. The man who doesn't flinch when tested. The man who doesn't crumble when she gets moody. The man who doesn't trade his spine for approval. That's who she remembers. That's who she brags about. That's who she regrets walking away from. Your job isn't to become louder, flashier, or more aggressive. Your job is to become more certain about who you are, what you tolerate, where you're going, what you're building. Certainty is calm. Certainty is clarity. Certainty is knowing that love is a gift, not a transaction. And if she doesn't see your value, that's okay, because you do. That's the man who doesn't get walked on. That's the man who doesn't get left behind for someone who barely tried. That's the man who gets chosen, not because he begged, but because he built himself into something unshakable. So if you want to keep her, stop asking what she wants. Stop trying to shape yourself around her mood swings. Start building yourself into a man so grounded, so complete, that she has no choice but to rise to your level or remove herself. That's the one trait that changes everything. Certainty. You don't find it in books or borrowed quotes. You forge it through solitude, through standards, through ruthless self-honesty. You build it when you stop chasing and start leading. And once you lock into that version of yourself, she can't unsee it, she can't forget it. And if she does leave you, it won't be because you lacked something. It'll be because she wasn't ready for a man who actually knew his worth. Here's something you need to etch into your mind. Women don't crave men who perform for them. They crave men who hold frame. That means you don't get emotionally rattled when she tests you. You don't abandon your purpose because she's upset. You don't apologize for your standards because they make her uncomfortable. Frame isn't about being rigid, it's about being rooted. And when a woman feels your emotional foundation is stronger than her storms, she either surrenders to your leadership or she runs. But if she runs, it's not because you did something wrong, it's because she couldn't manipulate you. And to women who aren't ready for real love, that kind of power feels threatening. You ever notice how the man who gives her everything often ends up being left for the man who gives her less? It's not because she's cruel, it's because she feels more when she's unsure. That uncertainty, that lack of control over a man, awakens something primal in her. She becomes curious, engaged, emotionally invested. Meanwhile, the guy who constantly affirms, checks in, reassures, he gets taken for granted because he made himself too emotionally available. And while that might seem kind in her subconscious mind, it screams desperation. She doesn't want to control you, she wants to feel you, and she can only feel you when you're rooted in who you are, not orbiting around who she wants you to be. You could give her the world, but if you don't give her the feeling that you're solid, she'll trade it all for a man who barely knows her name, but knows who he is. Let that sink in. You can show up with roses, plan the perfect dates, be her therapist, her protector, her safe space, but if she senses you're emotionally dependent on her reaction, you've already lost the game. She'll leave, not because you failed, but because you tried too hard to succeed. Because effort without direction isn't masculine, it's chaotic, and a man who moves in chaos invites doubt. But a man who's calm, clear, and centered, he inspires surrender, and she will gladly leave behind good intentions for that kind of internal strength. Don't misunderstand her silence as confusion. Understand it as calculation. When she goes quiet, when she gets distant, when she starts pulling away, it's not random, it's a test. It's her emotional radar scanning for certainty. She wants to know, will you panic? Will you beg? Will you become needy? Or will you lean back, stay composed, and let her come to you? The answer determines everything. Because if you crumble at the first sign of withdrawal, she knows you were never leading to begin with, you were just reacting, and that kills attraction faster than anything. But if you stay grounded, that silence becomes deafening for her, because now she's wondering if she lost something she'll never replace. Let's talk about the guys she obsesses over, the ones she can't forget, the ones she compares every other man to. They're not always rich, they're not always attractive, but they have presence. They own the room without trying. They speak with intention. They move with purpose. They don't flinch when challenged. And when she meets that energy, it triggers something ancient, something instinctual. Because a woman doesn't want a man she has to convince to be strong. She wants a man who already is strong and is willing to let her close if she proves she's earned it. The men who embody that, they don't chase, they don't overgive, they select. And being selected by a man like that, it rewires her soul. If you're constantly wondering what she's thinking, what she wants, how she feels, you're not leading, you're following, you're giving her the frame. And in that frame, she becomes the masculine force. And no matter how much she says she wants control, she doesn't want to be your leader. She wants to feel like you've got this, like you're the calm in her storm, like you're the one who knows where you're going, and she's safe following your lead. But when you lose that position, when you hand over the wheel to her emotions, she starts looking for someone who can take it back. And if she finds him, if he has that one trait, that unshakable certainty, you become a sweet memory, and he becomes her obsession. Women don't leave because they stop caring. They leave because they stop feeling. When the emotional current dies, when the spark fades, when she doesn't feel your edge anymore, she starts disconnecting. And if she crosses paths with a man who has that raw, centered, masculine presence, it reminds her of what she's missing. Not just in you, but in herself. Because the feminine wants to submit to strength, not to control, not to passivity, but to strength. And the man who walks like he doesn't need her, but chooses her from a place of grounded power, that's the man she leaves for. Not because he offers more, but because he feels more real. You've got to stop measuring your worth by how much you give. Women aren't attracted to effort, they're attracted to energy. And if your energy is frantic, desperate, always proving something, she senses it. She might stay for a while out of comfort, out of guilt, out of convenience. But when she meets a man whose energy is sovereign, she's gone. Because he doesn't just walk different, he feels different. And women chase that feeling. They abandon stability for sensation. It's not fair, it's not rational, but it's real. And the sooner you stop fighting it and start embodying it, the sooner you stop losing women who were never ready for the man you could be. The mistake most men make is trying to earn love by being nice, by being available, by showing her how much they care. But in her emotional world, that reads as compliance. And compliance is the opposite of arousal. She wants a man who can lead, challenge, and command her attention. Not one who tiptoes around her feelings. She wants to feel your power, not your people-pleasing. She wants to feel your standards, not your softness. That doesn't mean being cold or cruel. It means being clear. You love her, good. Now lead, with purpose, with direction, with standards. Because if you don't lead the relationship, she'll either take over or take off. The deeper truth is this: a woman will leave you after everything, after years, memories, loyalty, if he has this one trait, certainty, because certainty makes her feel safe, desired, feminine. And if you've lost that edge, if she doesn't feel your conviction anymore, she starts drifting. Not because you weren't enough, but because you forgot how to be the man who never needed her to feel whole. So if you want to keep her, or if you want to stop losing women to men who do less but walk stronger, you build that trait, certainty, every day, in every decision, in how you speak, in how you walk, in how you stop chasing and start choosing. There's something powerful about a man who doesn't flinch when she tries to provoke him. She'll test your patience. She'll say things to get a rise out of you. She'll push your buttons, not because she wants chaos, but because she's trying to feel your strength. Most guys get emotional, defensive, or try to over-explain themselves when that happens. But the man who stays silent, who doesn't react, who looks her in the eye with calm conviction, that man rewires something in her biology. Because deep down, she doesn't want to lead with her chaos. She wants to feel safe losing herself in your certainty. That's the trait, that's the pull. That's the moment where she goes from skeptical to sold. Understand this clearly. Women remember how a man makes them feel more than what he does, and what makes them feel something powerful. It's when a man walks away when he's not respected, when he doesn't wait for her to make up her mind, when he doesn't try to convince her of his worth. That triggers something deep in her feminine energy, an awareness that she's not dealing with a boy, she's dealing with a force, a presence, a man with options. And that right there, that's the switch. The moment she realizes she's not the prize you are. The moment she senses that even if she walks away, you won't chase. That's when she rethinks everything. She'll scroll through his profile. She'll stare at his text. She'll wait for that dopamine spike that comes from chasing a man who isn't begging for her time. She'll crave the man who doesn't flinch at her silence. That's the paradox. She gets emotionally addicted to the guy who makes her question if she is good enough. Not out of toxicity, but because she feels alive again. She feels curious. She feels like she has something to prove. And when a woman feels that hunger, that chase, that pull to win his attention, she forgets about the man who made everything easy, because easy doesn't excite her. Effortless dominance does. The masculine energy that makes women stay, that makes them emotionally invest and stay up at night thinking about you, is not loud. It's not desperate. It's still. It's the man who says less, but means more. The man who gives space, not out of disinterest, but because he respects his own time. The man who listens, not to appease, but to understand. The man who walks away, not to punish, but because his standards won't be bent. That kind of presence makes a woman feel like she's dealing with someone she can't just manipulate. And when she feels that, the game changes. Her energy shifts, her focus narrows, because she's not used to being the one who has to earn approval. You see, most men are terrified of being alone. That fear drives them to cling, to please, to bend until they break. But the man who's at peace with solitude, that man is dangerous in the best way. He doesn't fear walking away. He doesn't chase women to feel valuable. His value is internal. His worth is fixed. And when a woman senses that, she becomes addicted to the mystery. She wonders what makes him so complete. She starts chasing the answer. And in doing so, she emotionally invests. She chooses him again and again. Not because he tried to win her, but because she realized she'd be losing something rare if she let go. Let's talk about the breakups that haunt her. The ones she never talks about. It's not the guy who cried, begged, or sent paragraphs. It's the one who disappeared. The man who let her go without resistance. The man who didn't try to win her back. The man who left space and made her sit in it. That silence, that void, that stillness, it's deafening, because now she's left with questions. And questions create obsession. She'll reread the last text. She'll check his stories. She'll wonder if he's moved on. And when she sees he has, when he's glowing up without her, that's when it hits. That's when she finally sees what she lost. But by then, it's too late, because he didn't just move on, he evolved. Certainty isn't just about knowing what you want, it's about knowing what you won't tolerate. And that kind of man sets the tone from day one. He doesn't try to win her with gifts, with praise, with over-availability. He wins by being unshakably himself. He speaks truth, even if it offends. He walks away when disrespected, without flinching, and that energy, it commands respect. Women can't help but feel drawn to it, not because it makes them feel safe in a traditional way, but because it makes them feel anchored, grounded. And in a chaotic emotional world, that kind of grounded masculinity is the one trait that separates men who are remembered from men who are forgotten. She might love the sweet guy, she might appreciate the effort, she might even cry when he leaves. But if the next man walks in and carries that one trait certainty, she'll forget the one before, not because she's heartless, but because emotional survival for the feminine means following the strongest frame, and certainty feels like strength. It's the backbone of attraction, the pulse behind desire, the thing that keeps her up at night wondering what it would feel like to be claimed by a man who doesn't need her, but would choose her if she proves she's worthy. That's the psychology most men miss. It's not about doing more, it's about being more. Stop asking how to make her stay. Start asking how to build a life she'd be foolish to walk away from. A life rooted in discipline, in clarity, in purpose. A life where your presence feels so steady, so rare, that to lose you would feel like losing gravity. That's what women chase. Not constant attention, not romantic desperation. They chase anchors. And if she senses you're that man, the one who doesn't bend, doesn't chase, doesn't flinch, she'll leave comfort for curiosity. She'll leave history for potential. She'll leave familiarity for you. Not because you said the right words, but because you embodied the one trait no woman can ignore. So, Let's end this part with clarity. She'll leave you after everything. The memories, the laughs, the years. She'll walk away from a man who tried, who showed up, who gave his best. If he loses that trait, that one trait that separates the rare from the replaceable certainty, build it, live it, embody it, and everything changes. Not just with women, but with the world. Because when a man knows who he is, what he wants, and what he won't tolerate, everything starts chasing him. You don't beg for love when you're certain of your value. That's the entire point. You don't chase validation because you don't need external proof for internal truth. And when a man reaches that level of self-awareness, he becomes nearly untouchable. Not emotionally distant, but emotionally disciplined. He doesn't react to her silence. He doesn't spiral when she tests him. He sees it for what it is, a storm looking for something sturdy to hold onto. And if you're that sturdy presence, if your silence is filled with intention, if your stillness is backed by purpose, she'll feel it in her gut. She'll feel it when you're not around, and she'll come back, not because you asked, but because you didn't. Women follow energy, and energy doesn't lie. She can feel when you're desperate under your words. She can feel when your compliments come from a place of need. But the man who gives without expecting, who stays silent without fear, who walks away without resentment, that man becomes unforgettable. Because now she has to wonder, she has to recalibrate. She starts asking herself, did I lose something rare? That's where the shift happens. You stop being a memory and start being a mystery. And mystery, brother, is where desire lives. The men who are remembered in her story are not the ones who gave her the world. They're the ones who didn't let her chaos shake theirs, who loved her, yes, but who never lost themselves trying to be everything for her. Those men, the grounded ones, live in her memory because they stood firm when she wavered. They didn't adjust their boundaries to keep her comfortable. They didn't abandon their purpose to make her feel safe. They stayed rooted. They stayed silent when words weren't needed. And that kind of presence, it lingers in a woman's mind long after she's gone. Because it wasn't just masculine, it was sacred. There will come a day when she compares every man after you to the one who didn't flinch, the one who didn't chase, the one who didn't break under pressure. It will hit her in quiet moments when she's with someone new, but still feels something's missing. That something is your certainty. The energy you brought into her life that made her feel safe and excited at the same time, that made her feel like she was with a man who knew who he was, knew what he wanted, knew when to walk. And that trait, more than anything else, is the one she'll never forget, even if she tried. So don't fall into the trap of becoming the man who overgives, who over-explains, who overcompensates for her indecision. Because the more you do that, the more you bleed certainty, and she'll sense it. She may not say it out loud, but she'll feel it in her body. He needs me too much, and nothing suffocates attraction faster than emotional dependency. Women want to choose you, not feel like you need them. And the man who lives with that principle, who is fine whether she stays or leaves, becomes magnetic, not because of what he offers, but because of what he never sacrifices. When you're certain, you stop performing. You stop trying to be liked. You stop adjusting your truth to match her mood. You say what you mean. You walk your own path. And suddenly, she's not leading anymore. You are. She's following. She's watching. She's leaning in. Not because you pulled her, but because your gravity dragged her in. And that's the moment everything changes. She stops being in control and starts surrendering, not out of fear, not out of manipulation, but out of desire. Because nothing turns a woman on more than a man who doesn't flinch under pressure and never begs for attention. Certainty is not just an energy, it's an identity. It's how you breathe, how you speak, how you move. It's how you say no without needing to explain. It's how you walk away without bitterness. It's how you love deeply, but not foolishly. And when you embody that, you become the man every woman says she wants, but most can't handle, because they've never experienced a man who doesn't need them to feel complete. A man who can hold space for them without getting lost in them. That's the kind of man who shifts her entire nervous system. That's the kind of man who rewires her standards, and that's the kind of man you are becoming. So if you're going to remember anything from this script, remember this: she'll leave you after everything. If another man walks in with this trait, she won't even realize it at first. It'll feel subtle, a pull, a curiosity, an itch she can't explain, and then it hits. He doesn't need her. He's not moved by her beauty. He's not chasing, and suddenly her instincts light up, because if she doesn't earn his time, she might lose the chance forever. And that energy, that fear of loss, that hunger to be seen by someone who's not already under her spell, that's what makes her leave everything behind. But here's your power. You can become that man. You don't need money, looks, or fame. You need discipline. You need clarity. You need to build an inner world that doesn't shift when someone tests your worth. You need to stop explaining, stop chasing, stop compromising, and start leading, start commanding, start embodying, because the world and women don't follow what's loud. They follow what's certain, what's solid, what doesn't fold under pressure. That's what makes her question everything she thought she wanted and realize you were what she needed all along. So be that man, the one who doesn't flinch, the one who doesn't beg, the one who lets her leave without chasing after. Not because you're cold, but because your standards are warmer than her confusion. Be the man who walks with such deep alignment that her only chance to stay in your life is to match it. Be the gravity, be the anchor, be the one trait that no woman can resist, certainty. And the moment you embody that fully, she won't just stay, she'll surrender, she'll follow, she'll choose you again and again, because she'll know if she lets go of a man like you, there's no going back.